Hi everybody, it's Jayma Malmi. Welcome to day 2 of my Extravaganza presentation on specialty papers. Today I'm focusing on our holographic paper, which is super fun and unique, but it's made out of a different material than most papers. It's almost like plastic. And yesterday we explored the different inks and mediums that we can use with it. Today we're going to focus on using die cuts and embossing folders on the holographic paper and explore forming the paper and using it with flower petals to curl the petals. And I'm going to show you some finished projects that I've created and show you some tips on how I created them. I'm not going to go into the full process of all of them, but I think that you're going to glean some good ideas from these projects. So I hope that you enjoy. Let's get right into it. So I have here my almost finished project. This is actually a magnet, and I used these thin cuts, the 3D flower thin cuts, and this is what it looks like. We've got two sides. This is the biggest size, and I've cut two of those, one with vellum and one with cardstock. And this is going to be the stamen, which I'm actually not using here. I wanted to show it to you cut out with the holographic paper. And I think that this works better if you were to cut it with a two-sided cardstock because you kind of see the back side of it. So I decided not to use it, but I will show you it in cardstock here in a minute. I cut every other one. So I used 2 layers of vellum sort of to break up all of that holographic paper, and then also some cardstock to break up the holographic paper because the holographic paper is a lot. And this is the start of some layers with all holographic paper and 1 layer of vellum in there to sort of break it up a little bit. So I wanted to show you some variations of how to use the holographic in ways that really pack a major punch by using a lot of the holographic paper and then just using a little bit of it as an accent, and look at how pretty it looks. See how the holographic paper that's just plain, it just kind of lays pretty flat, but the one that I ran through the embossing folder, and I used this embossing folder, which is one of the newer ones, the embossing folder kind of helps it curl up, just like it did with this little sample piece that I showed you yesterday. It kind of curled up when we did that. So you've already got a leg up on your curling and adding dimension to this flower. So what I did on the other flower is I put my thumbnail here. You could also use, something round to curl it around, or, but I just use, you've got these 2 great tools right here. So I used one hand here to kind of put my nail in there and hold it at the base while I lifted it up, and that gave it a crease. See how I do that? And it gives it kind of that crease right there. And so that's going to help it stick up and give it that lift. And then I'm going to take my finger here and curl it like this and give it that curl. And look at how great that looks. With the holographic paper, it takes a little bit more training to get it to curl than it does cardstock. So we're going to go around and do that to all of the petals. And again, I think that dry embossing that we did, well, it's kind of curling up. You can make them all curl up like this or make them all curl down. So it's your choice. But I just decided to move them all down and like that. So I'll just go ahead and do that to the rest of the flowers. Now the vellum is another one that's a little bit tricky to get it to curl. So you can do the same thing, and eventually it will do what you want it to do. I wanted to show you a little tip though, and I am going to work right on top of this 3D foam tape plastic. If you take your shimmer brush, the dampness from the shimmer brush and reaction to the vellum actually helps it to curl. So you're getting that really thin vellum, nice and saturated, while also adding beautiful sparkle. Those of you who are familiar with my videos know that I have to have shimmer on everything that I do. So we're gonna just go around and add that shimmer, and I saturated it pretty well, and look at how I'm not even touching it and it's just curling up on me. So we are going to use that to our advantage. Now, I wanted to show you this for two reasons. First of all, because we are going to take this and manipulate it and make it curl in the direction that we want. But I also wanted to show you, because if this is not the reaction that you want and you're using vellum, you may not want to use a shimmer brush. So there's a little twofer tip for you. All right, so I'm actually going to kind of let this dry a little bit. Now keep in mind with our shimmer brushes, the shimmer doesn't soak into the paper like the liquid does. And so the shimmer is going to still kind of sit on top of your paper, and especially with the vellum paper, because it's not really, there's not a lot to soak into. So just know you're gonna get some rub off of that shimmer, and that's okay. You know, wash your hands afterwards. We all know that working with crafting products is a messy job sometimes. So just wanted to let you know it's okay if some of that shimmer comes off. So see how that I just kind of held it and let it dry. It dries very fast. It's pretty much dry now in my hand. And we are going to go back now and curl up. Again, bending, that'll help give the lift if we actually bend the paper and crease it, because you're not going to see that. And curl it around. There you go. So now we've got some beautiful shimmer to add to our holographic flower. We'll put that layer right there. And so see, here's a better example on this smaller flower, how this, all of these petals turned up. So again, you could make all of your petals turn up instead of down, and that would look really cool too. In fact, maybe I'll make these last two stick up instead of down and kind of see how that looks. You can kind of crease it if you want to, but I think with this direction, you don't really have to. And we'll give it some curl here. You may want to take it and kind of go like this. Just depends on how much you want to train it to curl. So another reason why I had the flowers, the petals curling down, is since the holographic paper is not two-sided, you may see some of that white sticking up, but that's okay. On this one, we'll just go ahead and do that. I'm going to take my thin 3D foam. You can use a thicker 3D foam, one of our regular 3D foams as well if you'd like, and that will just give it a little bit more dimension. So there, we've got that layer on it, and that will just kind of hold it down. And now we've got some fun dimension going in different ways. It's actually a really cool look doing it this way and not having it all curled under like the other one.
So now that it's all put together, I wanted to show you one option I didn't use but looks great is the gold glitter die cuts has this dot in it, and that would have worked perfectly. I ended up using the Stickles and giving it that real shiny look, and once it's dry it'll end up looking really great. And real quick, wanted to show you how to put together this little stamen piece. So I like to use my piercing tool and give it a good start on there and then continue rolling it and put a little bit of glue at the end and just kind of fluff it up. And then I adhered it with liquid glass.
So I wanted to give you a look at the finished cards that I made from these flowers, and then I'm going to have some other pieces of artwork to show you as well. So look at how awesome this flower turned out. I love how the vellum, even though we formed it and that helped, it still has a mind of its own, and I think this turned out to be my favorite just because there's so much dimension, and I really like how the bottom leaves curl down but then the top leaves curl up. Now I wanted to point out the stickles in the middle are water-based, and remember from yesterday, water-based doesn't play well with the holographic paper, so the whole thing just actually popped off. But I took it and I put a glue dot on the back and I just stuck it right back down, and it worked perfectly. So also remember, these are magnets here on the card. So we've got the magnet back there, and on two of these I put the stitched rectangles, this is from the stitched rectangle die. I kept the cards very simple because the flower is just such the wow factor. I put the stitched rectangle up on foam tape, and I actually cut a circle in the middle just so that magnet wouldn't be up so high. You really don't have to do that, you know, there's so much dimension already, so what's another, you know, 1/8 of an inch or so. But I did decide to do that, and I just think that this looks so pretty. Of course, this is not really mailable, but you could give it to a friend and explain in the card that they can take the magnet off. And I put the magnet down on a glue dot so they can peel it off. They'll just want to make sure to peel off all of the glue dot from the magnet before they use it. Okay, now this one, I want to show the center because I didn't show that in the earlier video. I put a big blob of liquid glass on there, and then I just picked out some of the smaller sequins from the gold sequin mix and laid them in there. And then the liquid glass dries real clear, and you have that gorgeous center. And I use gold accents to really bring out the gold. So I use the gold foil paper around here. But to save on my paper, I actually cut out the center of the paper so it's just the outside you're seeing, and I can use that foil on another project. I had this love from another project that I glued down, and I added a few more gold sequins. You really could leave those off if you wanted because there's so much going on already, but I just decided to add them there. This one is also a magnet and put on, I cut a hole in that one as well. Now this one, again, a magnet, but I just put it right on top of our card base here. So I didn't raise the card base at all. I just used the same embossing folder to bring out that same pattern that's on this vellum, and put it onto a little bit of hollyhock paper. I put a little bit of holographic paper behind the sentiment, but just kept that very simple again. So we've got the hollyhock to bring out the hollyhock here. I just use hollyhock because I grabbed some scraps. Cutting out all these flowers is a great way to use up a lot of your scrap cardstock. And then another thing on this one, I put just a real thin border behind this stitched rectangle, just enough to bring out this hollyhock, but I didn't want it to overpower any of the other things that I had going on. So there's those 3 cards made from the flowers that I showed you how to make. And then I also have this card that uses those same flower die cuts, but I only use the first 2 sizes. So I cut 2 out of the second size and 1 out of the first size. I curled all of these leaves up. So we've got that flower, which really is kind of a focal point, but I think the background to me is even more of a focal point. I love this background. So this is using the layered floral backgrounds thin cuts, which has 3 plates, and you put them together to layer up and create this look. You can use different colors if you want. I just cut them all out of white to keep it, because I didn't want a whole lot more going on with the holographic paper. And then I put the holographic paper as the background on the card base, and it just makes such a statement. Even if you don't have this holographic paper here and you do something else with this card, it's so pretty. I kept the rest pretty simple, added a few very small gems, and in the center of this flower I used some of the smaller white dots from the black and white dots embellishment package. So there's another flower card. And then I created this slimline card. So remember yesterday I had my sample piece with the embossing folder on it. So I cut 2 more and ran them through the embossing folder. And I just created this very graphic card. I love how it's a very graphic look, but all of the swirls from that embossing folder are more like classic and elegant. So you've got both of those looks kind of playing, but I kept it pretty simple. I decided to put a very skinny outline of black here just to make it pop. And I stamped the sentiment in black, which is from the October stamp of the month. So there's that one. And then I went all out on the holographic paper for this one. So this is a 6x6 card, which is quite big. You could use this technique on a scrapbook page or a smaller card. In fact, I did use this on a smaller card without holographic paper. I'll link to that above if you want to check out that card, which is more of a process video and shows how I did it, which I'm not showing you here. But I cut out a whole bunch of the stitched hexagon dies, several of them in every color of the holographic paper, and laid them on the background. I want to point out, so this Hooray for Today is the focal point, and I didn't want any yellow behind that. So the yellow holographic paper is up here, here, and here, which forms a visual triangle and also does not go right behind the focal image so that it doesn't take away and you have that yellow spread out around the whole page. And then I also have all of the other colors spread in visual triangles. So there's the Twinkle Toes, the Majestic, we've got the Oasis, and then the Dreamy, all spread out. And honestly, that's the hardest part of this, is just making sure everything's spread out. So I just laid them all out on my card base first, kind of played around with them until they were evenly spaced, and then we were good to go. I added a few stickers. I wanted to show you that the stickers play well with the holographic, kind of breaks up all the shine, and then added a few of the iridescent sequins as well. Something else I want to point out is that when you use glue on the holographic paper, if you accidentally smudge it or get it somewhere you don't want it, it's really hard to get off. So my 4-year-old son, of course, saw this and was like, ooh, shiny, I want to touch it, but these weren't dry yet. So this little guy slid over here and left a little streak of glue, and I think there were some other little spots of glue you might be able to catch it. I don't think the camera's catching it all real well, but there definitely are a few little smudges here and there. But the best way to get the smudge, I actually got most of it off, was just to keep rubbing it with my sweatshirt. So I had on like a normal cotton sweatshirt, put my thumb through it like this, and just rubbed and rubbed and rubbed, and then just kept doing that over and over, and it got most of it off. The rub and remove eraser actually makes it worse, so I wouldn't try that. It actually worked really well with the cotton on my sweatshirt. And then last but not least, I wanted to show you this card that my daughter made. She saw all of my hexagons laying out, and some of them I cut from scrap paper, so they were like half hexagons. And she layered these up and she said, look, Mommy, it looks like a happy face. And it was so cute. So she made this little card. I cut the things, but she put them all together, and it's her design, and she chose the paper and the stamps and everything, and chose the die cut too. And then she put glue dots under the eyes, made her little happy face. And then remember yesterday I showed you the pens that will work on here? Well, she first grabbed one of the journaling pens and started drawing the eyelashes, and I said, well, that's not gonna work. And she said, yeah, look, it's working. I said, okay, well, let's just wait. So we came back about an hour later and she rubbed it, and of course it smeared, and she rubbed it all completely off. And I said, here, use this marker. And she used the True Black Spectrum Noir, and it's working perfectly. It made the perfect little eyelashes. So if you ever want to make eyelashes on holographic paper, or your kids do, then that is the perfect pen, and my tests yesterday have proven to be useful. So anyways, I hope that you guys have enjoyed this so far, today featuring holographic paper, and I am going to feature our other specialty papers throughout the week. If you have any questions at all, then please let me know. I will do my best to answer everything in a timely manner. And I am so grateful that you guys are watching and hope that you're learning something. And I will see you again tomorrow.
I wanted to leave you with some still shots so you can see all of these in better lighting, although I want to say it was very hard to capture pictures of the holographic paper in photos because it just changes so much. But look at how different those photos look. And now look at this. See that top card, how purple it looks in this photo? And then just slightly changing the angle, it looks a lot more pink. So I hope you enjoyed this, and we will see you tomorrow for video number 3, where we will focus on glitter paper. Thanks for watching.